in the Gemara.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember me? Yeah, okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Today we're going to start Samach Vav Amid Beis on the bottom. Line starts in Meider Rabbi Yossi by Merimro. We're going to start from the words after that. Umi Meider Rabbi Yossi. A new section here. We're learning that Mili Lemimshran L'Shliach, that a Shliach cannot tell another Shliach to do the job that he was given. He has to do that job. However, the last point that we said was that Rabbi Yossi would admit that if the Shliach was given a job to tell someone else to do that job, then that was acceptable. It's called Eimer Imru. If the husband says that you should say, so Rabbi Yossi was made. Now, we had a case over here. That's how this all came up. It was someone tells two people that they should write and sign, they should write and give a get. Write and give a get. They didn't do the writing. They only signed it, and they got someone else to write it. So Shmuel said that he's not so sure if this get is good. I said, what's the problem? Why is he not sure? So first of all, we said, well, they weren't told to tell someone else. And Mili Lamimsram L'Shliach. So we said that really what Shmuel is concerned about is when he says he told them to write, did he mean that they should sign, or did he mean that they should write? When he says write, does he mean sign or does he mean write? He said, well, why don't we prove that from the Mishnah? It says that's the question in the Mishnah also. When it says in the Mishnah that they should write the get, doesn't mean that they should write or they should sign. So the same question that we have in the story, we also have in the Mishnah. What does writing mean? Okay. The way we finished off at the end was that Shmuel paskins at the halachas like Rabbi Yossi that mili leimimsron l'shliach, that you can't, one shliach cannot pass on the message, the mission to someone else. However, Rabbi Yossi would admit to Aymer, that's what we're hoping. If he says to pass it on, then that would be acceptable. Now we're up to Umi Meider Rabbi Yossi by Imru. Oh, I said we thank Hashem that we can learn every day. In the schus of learning, we should have the base of Mikdash immediately. Okay. Umi Meider Rabbi Yossi by Imru. Does Rabbi Yossi admit? Does Rabbi Yossi agree that even though a shliach can't give over his mission to someone else, but if his mission was to give it over to someone else, then he can. If he was told, tell other people, then he can give it over. Does Rabbi Yossi really say that? But we have a Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Kasav Sefer Ve'ed. If the Sefer wrote again, Sefer wrote again, and one witness signed it. So the rule is that it's kosher. It's kosher. Now, there's two ways of learning this Mishnah. One way of learning this Mishnah is that although you don't have two signatures, but you don't need two signatures because you have the handwriting of the Sefer, which counts as a signature. Other way of learning this Mishnah is as follows. Rabbi Yirmiyah says, Chasam Sefer Shenino. It doesn't mean that there was no second signature there, or there was no first signature there. There really was a first signature there, but that was the signature of the Sefer himself. So you look at the get, you see the handwriting of the Sefer, and you see the signature, and then you see an additional signature. There's two signatures there.
Did this Greek guy his name? Some Sefer.
Oh yeah, it could be that it comes from here. The Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Yirmiyah says Chasam Sefer Shnina, that the Mishnah was really talking about where the Sefer signed it, not just that it was his handwriting. Rav Chizda says Masnisin Mani, who's the author of that Mishnah that says this? It's Rabbi Yossi Damar Mili Lemimsran L'Shliach. It's the opinion of Rabbi Yossi that says that a shliach cannot make another shliach to write or sign the get.
Didn't we say that in this Mishnah, someone's having multiple people write a get, just humiliate his wife, more or less. Meaning it's
Right.
success.
Right. No, but that's not a problem. That doesn't contradict what we're saying because that multiple people was not that they should each tell the next one, that they should tell the next one. He told all of them. What we're discussing here is when he told one person that he should tell someone else to do it. That's where it gets complicated. Shliach is making another shliach. Well,
Could we assume that his wife or ex-wife is going to get like 10 gets or whatever, multiple gets?
no, one gets, it wouldn't be that more than one get. Over there, we were discussing if they all have to sign the same document or if he really means one of you and any one of you. That we'll see soon. Over here, what we're saying is we have a concern that maybe we have a get in front of us. We have a concern that maybe the Sefer or the Edom were not really appointed to sign. So it goes like this. We see the get. We know that the Sefer would have had to be appointed, right? He wouldn't have signed, he wouldn't have written the get if it wasn't appointed. And then we have witnesses that signed on it. Obviously, they were instructed to sign it, or else they wouldn't have signed it. Now, here we have a get where the first signature is the signature of the Sefer. And we're saying that that's going to be kosher. And we don't have any concern that maybe the Sefer wasn't told directly to sign it. Because there's no such thing as signing a get not being told directly. Because mili le'mimsrin l'shliach, you can never, no one can ever tell you to do it if it's not the husband himself. So of course, the Sefer who wrote it was also told to sign it. But let's say there's an exception to mili le'mimsrin l'shliach. And really, there's a possibility that maybe you weren't really told to sign it, but someone told you that the husband said to sign it. Then that's going to create a slight problem. And the problem goes like this. If it could enter your mind that Rabbi Yossi admits that there is an option where sometimes the husband doesn't actually tell you directly to sign it. He tells someone to tell you to sign it. He told someone to say that they should say, he told people that they should say to that you should sign it. Now, it's possible that nafik minei churva, a destruction will come out of this. It means a huge problem will come out of this. What's the problem? The zimnin damlu l'shnayim could be that could be that the husband told two people. Imru l'sefer v'yichteiv. Tell the sefer to write the get. L'pleini v'yachtemu, and tell so and so and so and so, Reuven and Shimon, that they should sign. No,
that's not.
This is Aimer
He's
Imra.
saying Omer to two people.
He said he's Aimer that two people should say. These two people, they should tell a cipher, and these two people should tell to Adim that they should sign it.
Now, the Adim are telling the Sofer to sign.
There's Adim, which are now Shluchim. And these Shluchim are telling a cipher and they're telling two Adim to sign it. All right. Now, and this is going to be kosher because I'm Rabbi Yossi's Maida. Now, all of this is how we don't want to say this. The husband gave clear instructions who should do the signing, Reuven and Shimon. But when they said to the sefer that you should write the get, and they didn't tell him to sign, they felt bad. They said the sefer is going to be insulted. Let's let the sefer sign first, because he's writing anyway. He's not going to let him sign, and then we'll get only one of those Adim to sign. Now we have a concern that if the sefer, if there's ever an exception where you can be told by someone else what the husband instructed, then we have a concern that maybe the sefer that's signing over here wasn't told to sign. Maybe the real instructions were that someone else was supposed to sign, but they didn't want to make him feel bad if he's holding the pen already. You're going to tell him, okay, give it up and let someone else sign. So they added, because of their concern for him, they told him that this is what he said. Now the sefer would have known. The sefer knows the halacha. Now, what is the halacha? Well, either that he could be told by someone else or he can't be told by someone else. So if the halacha is that he can't be told by someone else, he cannot be told that someone else told him. So then we have no concern that maybe he's going to sign without instructions, because there's no such thing as signing without instructions. But if there is such a thing as signing without direct instructions, because Aimer Imru is an exception, Rabbi Yossi agrees. So then how could you tell me that if there's the signature of the sefer on a get, that it's going to be kosher? It's the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. Why is it the opinion of Rabbi Yossi? Because Rabbi Yossi holds that a shliach can never tell another shliach that he should be signing. So we never have a concern that maybe the sefer signed because they were concerned about his being embarrassed and about his honor. So if there's always direct instructions, then the signature of a sefer on a get doesn't cause any questions. Because obviously there were direct instructions that he should sign. But if there's a possibility that the instructions were not direct, then we have a concern that why did he sign the sefer? Maybe because they were just concerned about his honor and they said sign, even though the husband told us otherwise. So that's why we have a question now. How could Rabbi Yossi admit to Aimer Imru? That would be an exception to direct instructions. And if there's an exception to direct instructions, then we should really passel a get with a sefer sign. The Gemara answers this question and says, really, Rabbi Yossi does admit he does admit that if it's Aimer Imru, that the instructions were that he should tell someone else, that this is a real exception, that we would accept that. However, since it's very uncommon for this to happen, because even though Rabbi Yossi admits that it's kosher, but he says that's only kosher b'di'evet, but not lechatchila. So since it's not kosher since there's no such thing as not kosher lechatchila, it means since you're not supposed to do this lechatchila, since you're not supposed to give instructions that someone else said, you're not supposed to do the lechatchila. So when you see a get with the sefer sign, you don't have to be concerned that maybe it was indirect instructions, because that you're not supposed to do. Lechatchila means ad initio, in the first place. B'di'evet means after the fact. Lechatchila means that you're allowed to go ahead and do it. Yeah, we say that Shasat Chak is a b'di'evet. We say that if there's b'di'evet means after it was done already, or b'di'evet can also mean if you don't have another option. Both of those mean we use the term b'di'evet. The real word is b'da'avad, probably. Okay. The Gemara has another question. We just said that you're not supposed to tell the witnesses to sign indirectly. You have to give the instructions to the witnesses directly to sign. The Gemara now follows up with one additional point. Sorry, Reb Naftali.
Yeah, I'm a little confused here. I guess I'm confused because I think if I was sending a get to someone, I would be more concerned that the get arrives than who brings it. And
Right.
I think I would, if I gave it to somebody to take the get and that person says, oh, I broke my leg, I can't keep going, I would want him to give it to somebody else to deliver it. So
Right.
I'm kind of confused at that level.
So at that level, that's not a concern of this Gemara, because that case is when there is an actual get that can actually be passed on. There's a baton that could be passed over to the next person. Over here, we're talking about where there is no substance that's being passed on. It's just mealy, just words.
Just
So
words.
like it says, write the get. And he goes over to the next guy and says, write the get. And then he says to someone else, write the get. And they're not passing on an actual get. If you're passing on an actual get, then that would be fine.
Okay. So here it ends up seems to be saying, let's not look for trouble. If the cipher signed it, that's common enough that it should be good enough.
If the cipher signed it, so then since there's only direct instructions, it must be that the cipher was actually told to sign it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
But now we entered in this other possibility that Aimer Imru is an exception, and there's a possibility of indirect instructions. And once you have a possibility of indirect instructions, then it could be that the instructions were really that they should tell two people to sign it, and they botched it up, and they told, instead of telling two people, they only told one of them because they didn't want to embarrass the sefer. And the sefer, who should know the halacha, is going to be signing, but over here, the halacha, what would the halacha be? Omer Imru was mutter. If Omer Imru was mutter, then maybe they didn't really tell him the real instruction.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the. Okay, so we said that really Omer Imru is an exception, and that would work. The only thing is that it's not common, so we're not concerned about it. So when we see a get with the signature of the sefer is supposed to have written the get, but he also has signed it. So we say it's not a problem because it's so uncommon that it would be in direct instructions. Okay. By the way, this is in case you find this complicated. This is a famous Omer Imru, famous complicated. It's just to follow the flow because the terms are. You know, who said he said that he said, and the sefer knows and he doesn't know, and like, but it's just.
They just had a smartphone app. You just go directly to their inbox. They just sign it, virtually.
What is it?
DocuSign, yeah.
A DocuSign. Yeah. And what did you tell me? The guy that signed in Brazil, they told him something, sign your name.
Oh, the singer.
So he just made like a dot or something. They said, no, we need a real signature. So he made a line.
You have to be the president.
The president. But
In general.
did we have before that they signed that their signatures were like different shapes? Did we have that before in the Gemara?
I think
They didn't actually have. Uh-huh. Today you have to sign your name in it's not actually Ashuris, but it's like Ashur. It's the Hebrew script, like tefillin, like or Sefer Torah. If you have to sign on a get, you have to sign your name, like not the cursive, but you have to make like the actual letters, like as if it was without tagging or anything, but it's just the.
Recently, I saw the way I think it was the Ron used to sign. He had a whole picture that he would make. There was a sailing ship and waves. And
I think. Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Say they have those judges that can't sign their name.
They have to practice.
They had to practice
Yeah.
because they were making the fancy signature.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be. Okay. Let's suspect Dilma Amalahu Beitrei. Let's say the husband told two people, Imrala Sefer v'yichter, that he should tell the Sefer to write, Va'atem chasuma, and you should sign. See, the last case of the Gemara was, we said that to tell witnesses, to tell other witnesses that they should sign, that was not lechatchila. Now we say, okay, he didn't tell witnesses to tell other witnesses to sign. He told these witnesses to sign, but that they should tell a Sefer to write. And maybe the Sefer never got direct instructions to write. Maybe the Sefer was only told by them to write. And then they were the ones that made up that the Sefer should also do the first signing because the Sefer never got direct instructions from the husband, and they didn't want to embarrass the Sefer that he's not going to sign. So they were the ones that told him to sign, even though that wasn't in other words, anytime there's a possibility of indirect instructions, we have a concern that maybe they messed it up when he signs.
I don't understand the embarrassment of the Sefer signing. Can you explain that?
Yeah, it'd be like
Why doesn't the Sefer need to sign?
It would be like
sign instead.
let's say there's like a rabbi at a wedding or something. They like to give him to say one of the blessings under the chuppah, or to lead the benching or something, or to say one of. Let's say they skip him. So it's like embarrassing. He was supposed to give him. You're supposed to give him the honor. Anyway, so here we have a guy that he wrote the get, and they say, and then they take it away from him, and they have two other people sign. He's like, "What's wrong with me? Why can't I sign? I'm a sefer. I should be able to sign also." So if there were direct instructions from the husband, you write and you two sign.
The
So
bottom,
then-
the bottom line is the Sefer also has feelings.
Yeah.
So, but the
The
signee.
cipher has cipher feelings.
How would you know? The signee doesn't necessarily need to be a witness to the instruction, right?
No, he does.
He does.
He does. He needs direct instructions from the husband.
So in this case, the sofer would be a direct witness because he was told by
Right.
the shluchim.
Right. However, not by the shluchim, he was told by the husband. We
Oh, right.
want it to be that only the husband himself could tell them to give them the instructions, and that's why the get is
Yeah,
kosher.
I had the impression it was kind of like a game of
But-
telephone,
but,
where
yeah,
the
that's-
husband
that's the
is in another
problem.
country.
That's the problem. Now we're saying that there's an exception to that. It could be the husband is somewhere else. He told witnesses to tell them, and now how do we know that it was all done correctly? Maybe they just out of feelings
Oh,
for
so
the
that's the
cipher.
exception.
That's the exception, which creates a problem. Why do you say it's kosher? He said it was only kosher according to Rabbi Yossi, but if Rabbi Yossi himself has an exception, so then why should it be kosher? They should be concerned that maybe there was this issue that came up. Okay. Maybe, okay, we got away with the sefer. We got away with the husband indirectly telling the witnesses to sign when we said that the sefer directly told the witnesses to sign, but he was indirect about instructing the sefer. He didn't tell the sefer directly. He told someone else to tell the sefer. So, even to tell the sefer indirectly is also a problem. We don't do that lechatchila. The Gemara said, we're going to see at the end of the page that there's a machlekes about this. The Gemara brings it up now. It says, "Hani chlamandam kashav leitasa, elamandam kashav v'tasa." There's a machlekes coming up about this, according to the opinion that says you're not supposed to do this. So we understand why the get is kosher, when even though the sefer himself signed on it, because he had to have direct instructions. But there is one other opinion there that says that the sefer writing the get does not need direct instructions. And so maybe if he didn't get the direct instructions, maybe his signing was also not direct. There were witnesses that were told to sign, and one of them said, "Oh, don't worry about my honor. It's better the sefer signs," and he passed it over to the sefer. Maybe it shouldn't be kosher. Gemara says, "Ella, rather Rabbi Yossi Tarti Amar." This whole thing that we got into this was because Shmuel says that Rabbi Yossi admits by Yomer Imru, it's not in Shmuel Paskins like Rabbi Yossi, but that mili lemimser l'shliach, that instructions need to be given directly. But then Shmuel says that Yomer Imru is mutter, is an exception. So it's not that Rabbi Yossi said it. Rabbi Yossi says both of them are no good. And that answers all our questions. However, Shmuel, and it goes like this. Shmuel agrees with Rabbi Yossi in one instance that mili lemimser and l'shliach, that one messenger cannot pass on just words to another messenger. However, Shmuel has his own point where he disagrees with Rabbi Yossi, and that's where he says Yomer Imru is mutter. That there is an exception to the rule that he paskins like Rabbi Yossi. He paskins like Rabbi Yossi, but there's an exception to that. If there were direct instructions that he should directly tell someone, there were instructions to give indirect instructions, that would be acceptable. Okay. I never went through the last volume. Last volume of the Shulchan Aruch. The Shilas Yeshuvas, and now it's Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, the last volume. There's supposed to be a big piece in here about Yomer Imru. I never went through these pieces. Let me see if it's.
So that's the Hebrew of the white books, right?
Simon Lamed Beis and Lamed Gimel. Yeah, they didn't do this last volume in English. But Simon Lamed Beis over here is an Yomer Imru.
No, this on the thing too.
Oh, is that right? I know that the Shulchan Aruch is not like a complete. I think some of it was like lost or
Yeah, if you want to have fun with it. Okay. Gufa, we go back to examine a statement that was made earlier that we was just had in passing. Amar Shmuel said, Amar Rebbe, the name of Rebbe, that halacha Rabbi Yosi, the halacha is like Rabbi Yosi, the Amar Mili Leimimsran L'Shliach, that words cannot be passed on to another shliach, right? As we were discussing before, that a shliach cannot make another shliach. Someone tells a shliach, someone tells a sefer to write, the sefer can't say, let me tell someone else to do it. The husband tells the sefer to write again.
Not just a sofer, what about a shliach to another shliach to give directives?
Exactly, same thing. Can't tell a shliach to tell someone else to write again. Actually, no, I'm not doing this correctly. If he Aymer Imru, we're not talking about. We're talking about only where he wasn't told to tell someone else. He was told to write it. He can't pass that on to someone else. That's why it's called the sefer, and then the sefer passes it on. He can't pass it on. Amal fun of Reb Shimon Rebbe. So Reb Shimon, the son of Rebbe, tells his father, I guess. I have on the side that maybe it was Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yosi. Since Reb Meir and Chanina Shainai, they argue on Rabbi Yosi because they said Chanina Ishaina came from the prison. He said that he heard from Rabbi Akiva that someone tells 3 people that he should give a get to his wife, that they're allowed to tell other people, right? Remember, it was a Bezdin. The Bezdin can pass on. So why are you saying, and Rabbi Yosi argued on that. Rabbi Yosi said, we don't trust that messenger, right? Even if they told the Sanhedrin, the great Sanhedrin Yerushalayim, that to write and to sign, that they're going to have to go themselves and learn how to write and sign. That was Rabbi Yosi. But if Rabbi Meir and Chanina Yeshainai argue on Rabbi Yosi, Ma'ara Rabbi, Laim Halacha Rabbi Yosi. So why did Rabbi say that the halacha is like Rabbi Yosi? Amalai, he responded to him, and I think this is Rebbe telling. Do you have who's responding? If Rebbe is telling his son Reb Shimon, he's saying, "Lei Reisas Rabbi Yosi, you never saw Rabbi Yosi. Almali Reisai, if you would have seen him, Nimuka Yimai." His reason is with him. That means he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's saying. This is the famous Gemara that Rabbi Yosi Nimuka Yimai. That's why the Rabbi Yosi, the halacha is usually like Rabbi Yosi. If Rabbi Yosi and Rabbi Yehuda argue, the halacha is like Rabbi Yosi. Rabbi Yosi and Rabbi Meir argue, the halacha is like Rabbi Meir. I'm sorry, the halacha is like Rabbi Yosi. If Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda argue, then that's something else. We go like Rabbi Yehuda. But Rabbi Yosi against his contemporaries, Rabbi Yosi wins.
Is not higher
Rabbi
than
Yehuda, Rabbi Loi.
No, it says here
no.
Rabbi
Rabbi Yehuda Anasi is different. Rabbi Yehuda Anasi is different. On the chart, you'll have the students of Rabbi Akiva, which is Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yosi, Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, and Rabbi Elazar ben Shmuel. Those would be the famous 5 students of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Yosi wins over all of them. There's an argument between them. Rabbi Yosi wins. Okay. The Tanya was starting a brayse. Isi ben Yehuda hayamayna shvachin shel chacham. Isi ben Yehuda would list the praises of the sages. Reb Meir chacham v'sefer. Reb Meir was a sage and a scribe. And Reb Yehuda chacham l'kashiyertze. Reb Yehuda was a chacham when he wanted to be. Now, the Tosfos over here says when he wanted to be, he was even greater than Reb Meir. Okay. And Reb Tarfon gal shalagoisim. Reb Tarfon, if you would ask him a question, so he would answer you like the way when you pull a nut out from a pile of walnuts, they all come collapsing, they all come falling down. That's how he would answer your question. He would give you a whole bunch of answers. Rabbi Yishmael chanus miyuzenes. It's a well-stocked store. that everything is there. Whatever you asked him, he had it available. Right? Some stores, there's nothing available. We're out of this, we're out of that, right? Okay. He had all this information available. Rabbi Akiva Eitzer Balam. Rabbi Akiva was an arranged storage. Now, Balam, how do they translate Balam over there? Do they have a explanation on the word Balam? Rashi has two interpretations. Compartments. He had everything compartmentalized. So
I mean, he was analytical.
apparently he listened to everything his teacher said, and then he arranged it in his own arrangements afterwards. Okay. Right. Which that's what it was, because the Sifra and the Sifri and the Tesefta is all and the Mishnayos is Kulu Ali B'De Rabbi Akiva. Right. He had everything arranged. There was this what's his name? There was someone wrote a book. Akiva, it's called. I think Louis Finkelstein was this, like a rabbi or a professor. Anyway, in his introduction to his book on Rabbi Akiva, he says Rabbi Akiva was the most influential person in all of history. He says all the other religions are influenced by Rabbi Akiva because all of the commentary on the Torah is all from Rabbi Akiva. Says he's like the main person that you have to study.
True was in Lewis Carroll.
Okay. If you look at it that way,
Well, what kind of like commentary did Rabbi Akiva read? Like Rashi?
So the original Mishnayos was probably, before it was set into the 6 orders that Rebbe arranged and all of that, original Mishnayos was probably Sukkim with halachas attached to it. Then when Rebbe arranged it, the Sukkim were removed, and it was just arranged in orders like it looks like a Rambam, like halacha 1, halacha 2. So, but originally all of that was commentary that went along with Sukkim. So all of that was Rabbi Akiva's teaching. So, well, Rabbi Akiva was the collector of those teachings. Yeah, I think they want to understand that a child, he doesn't analyze when he sees things. He's used to it. That was like Isaac Newton, Lahavdil. He saw something falling. He's like, why does it fall down? And really, it should fall up or something. So it's because when you learn something when you're young, so you just take it for granted and then you never question it. So Rabbi Akiva, he learned it when he was older. So he questioned everything. Why? So that's how the advantage of learning when you're older. Okay. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri Kupas HaReichlem. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri is a box of a basket of a what's a reichel? It's a peddler. That they have all types of little spices. You ask them for this, they pull out the thing. It's like Mary Poppins. It's got everything in the bag or something. Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah, Kupa Shel B'Samar. Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah is a mixture of spices, a box of spices, but it's not. Kupas HaReichlem means that it's all separated, and Kupa Shel B'Samar means everything is in there. Then it says Mishnah Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Kavanaki. The Mishnah of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov is small, but it's pure. It's pure, perfect. Rabbi Yossi always has his reasoning with him. Reb Shimon, Teichen Harbi Yomaitzi Kima. Reb Shimon, he ground a lot and he let out very small. And then it says Tana Mishkach Kima. Mashamaitzi Eina Maitzi Ela Subin. What does it mean, Maitzi Kima, that he grinds a lot and lets out only a little? That means that whatever Reb Shimon forgot was only the chaff, not the chaff, the bran. That Reb Shimon told the students, Banai, my sons, Shanu Midaisa, you should study my character. Because my character is the refined from the refined, from the best of what our teacher, his teacher.
This Isi Ben Yehuda, who is he a student of?
There's a Gemara somewhere. Isi ben Yehuda to Isi ben Gurion to Isi ben this. There has like
Because
5
he's-
different
In
names.
other words, he's the one listing.
Yeah,
the
he's
whole
listing
lot. So
these.
who's he to?
Do they give you all his names over there? He has another name that he's that maybe he's known by. Yeah, Yosef Abavli. Yes. Do they quote where it says it?
Just a bit of his history. Interesting.
The last one you translated. Is a totally different translation.
What is it?
This is Rabbi Shimon, right?
Yeah.
So two students, my sons accept my halakhic rulings. My rulings are the finest rulings, the finest
No,
rulings.
he's mentioned a few
Rabbi
places.
Akiva.
Yeah, but the expression over here is midaisai. I don't know if it means my character or if it means my midais means measurement.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it says they could learn with Rabbi Akiva.
Isi ben Yehuda. Okay. Gufa. Go back to this is a Gemara of Naphtali. This is a Gemara you have to remember. All of these. I see it going into a chart. You're going to make a chart. Okay. So Gufa. Let's go back to something that we mentioned. Amar l'shnayim. Someone said to 2 people. Imru l'seifer v'yichtav, l'pleini v'lepleini v'yachtav. This is exactly what the case that we were learning before. This is a Omer Imru. Someone tells 2 witnesses that you should tell the Sefer, give instructions to the Sefer, and you should also give instructions to witnesses to sign. You know, I read this article about someone in the Twin Towers that knew that he wasn't going to make it out. He was above the thing, and he called the Rav to make sure that his wife gets a get. Yeah. So that would have been Omer Imru. You know, it would have you have to tell it because you can't tell the cipher. You would have to tell someone to tell the cipher to tell the. So, yeah.
Wow.
What?
Great chill.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this
You knew that there was not.
person who was given the instruction is able to tell the story.
What's going to tell over, make sure, because in case they can't find the body and fires and things like that. I'm sorry?
I'm saying that in the event he had kept it being valid because it was the equivalent of he was at his deathbed.
Oh.
So if you give it away
Right,
on your deathbed, you then get up.
right.
Then,
That this was surely
Right.
not.
was that just when the chassan?
No, I think we said both. I think we compared a get to a matnash chumira. Okay, you know, it was this farm store, Beagleism. Beagleism is this farm store in New York. So one of the sons was this guy. That's the article that I read about him. I
I
forget
want to
where.
cry Sunday.
Mm.
Another story.
Okay. So Amar l'shnayim said to 2 people, Amar l'sefer v'yichtav l'plein klei v'yachtamu, and to tell the sefer to write and tell the witnesses to sign. Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav. Rav Huna says the name of Rav. Kosher v'lei tasos b'Yisrael. This is kosher, but don't do this. Amar le'ula Rav Nachman, Rav Nachman le'ula. So there's a conversation now between Rav Nachman and Ula. Ula was a traveler. It says miachad the kosher, Amar le'tasos b'Yisrael. If it's kosher, so why are you saying you can't do it? Right? That's a classic question. So he says, we have a concern over here. If are you able to find the story now? No. If we would accept, if we would say that you could do this, then we would have a concern that maybe a wife that's like an aguna, you know, her husband's not giving her the get. She may go and tell higher witnesses false witnesses, to go tell a cipher to write a get, to tell a, if all of this can be done without direct instructions, so then she may end up getting just getting it done, and there were never really instructions from the husband directly to the cipher. Now, if the husband needs to tell the cipher to write and he needs to tell the witnesses to sign, then everything is good. But if we're going to say that the cipher doesn't need to hear it directly, and the witnesses that are signing don't need to hear it directly, they could hear it from someone that the husband heard. So maybe the wife is the one that's coming up and telling them telling people to tell the cipher to tell,
She's given her own gift.
That's right. Yeah. It's like when they have to call the school to say like why the kid isn't coming.
Yeah.
They would make their fake voice. My son can't make it today. Okay. And do we suspect to such a thing? Tanya, we have a brayse witnesses that are signed on a sale, Valgetisha, or witnesses that are signed on a divorce document, like the sages aren't concerned that maybe it's not real. As long as we recognize who the signatures are, so we can always track them and say, what, you signed on a document? No one would ever put their name, a trackable name, on the document if it was all false, if they didn't have, so who told you to sign? So the Gemara says that Maisa layavdi but dibura kamri. If they don't have to say it, if they would never do it without being instructed. But it could be that they were instructed, but it wasn't from the original person. That we're not avoiding. So what do you mean? He told me. Rav Chisda Amar Kasha. I'm sorry, I skipped a line. Let's say it's only half the story. The witnesses were really told to sign directly. Witnesses had direct instructions. It was only the cipher that didn't have the direct instructions. Rav Chisda Amar Kasher v'leitase. Rav Chisda says it's kosher, but don't do it l'chatchila. And Rabbi Bar Bachana Amar Kasher. Rabbi Bar Bachana says that it's kosher v'tase, and you can do it. So the machlekes is supposed to be a machlekes for that generation. Rav Nachman Amar Kasher v'leitase. Rav Sheshes Amar Kasher v'tase. Rav Nachman says don't do it, and Rav Sheshes says that you can do it. Everyone's agreeing that it's kosher. We go down a generation. Rabba Amar Kasher v'leitase. Rav Yosef Amar Kasher v'tase. Rabba says don't do it, and Rav Yosef says you can do it. And some said that last thing. They said it the opposite, that it was really Rav Yosef said that you don't do it, and Rabba that said you can do it. Amala Sarah Kisvu get. Told 10 people to write a get. He said that you really only need 2 people to one person to write and 2 people to sign, and that was going to be good. But if he said kolchem, if he said all of you, then that would be different. Tanarabana. Amala Sarah Kisvu get to Tanula Ishti. Someone says to 10 people, write a get and give it to my wife. The halacha is echad kaisev al yidei kulam. One person writes for all of them. Kolchem kasuvu. He says all of you should write. Then echad kaisev b'maimed kulam. One of them writes in front of all of them. They don't all have to write. How do they all write? Can't all hold the pen. So it's all you write means one of you writes for all in front of all of you. Pelichu get lishti. If he tells 10 people, right, bring a get to my wife. So then, echad meilach al yidei kulam, one of them brings it. They don't all have to bring it. Kulchem halichu. If he says all of you should bring it.
So when it says kulchem halichu, which means he told separately to someone else to write it.
Yeah, the get was written already. It says you should all bring it. So then, echad meilach b'maimed kulam. Then one of them brings in front of all of them. That means I guess they're all walking along. Ibailu, where's the question? Mana isam mahu. Let's say he doesn't say all of you, but he just says, now either he says, he probably says, Ruvain, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Yisachar. He goes through all the names of the Edom over there, all the people. He says, write a get. So he listed all their names. Didn't say all of you, but he just said all their names. So Rav Huna Amar Mana, Einika Kolchem. Rav Huna says that listing their names or mana means counting, is not like saying all of you. In Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Lazar de Min Raima, Rabbi Yochanan says the name of Rabbi Lazar from Rome. He says Mana Harioka Kolchem, that listing the names is like saying all of you, which the halacha over there was that everyone had to be involved.
If one of them says, I can't, I don't want to. What happens?
Then
Is
the whole thing, everything
the
is
whole thing-
bustle. Yeah, we said if one of them died, we said in the Mishnah, then the whole get is bottle.
Well, that is one thing. If one push, say, no, I can't. It's not,
Be this probably the same thing. Yeah. Amar Rav Papa. Rav Papa says V'lei pligi. The machlekes between Rav Huna and Rabbi Yochanan is not really a machlekes. Why? Ha the manakulu, ha the manamiktasayu. Depends if he counted all of them or if he only counted some of them. Now, which one would go? How does that work? If he said all of their names, does that mean he wants all of them? If he said some of their names, then he doesn't want all of them? Or maybe it's the opposite. If he said some of their names, then obviously those are the ones that he wants. If he said all of the names, maybe he doesn't want all of them. He was just saying all their names. So Amrila Lahaigi, Amrila Lahaigi. So this could go two ways. Okay. So Amarav, I'm sorry. Asking Rabbi Yehuda Begita, Rabbi Yehuda instituted by the get the kulchem ksuvu, that it should write in the if he says kulchem ksuvu, I kulchain, I kol chad min chain chasumo, I kulchem ksuvu, then it works with what they have to write in the get, that what he said is I kulchem, I kol chad min chain. Either all of you or some of you, or each, or
one. Kol chad
v'chad, or each one of you is acceptable. So in other words, in order to avoid this confusion, do you need everyone or do you not? So they instituted that if anyone would say kolchem, they would have to like correct it and say, you mean all of you or any of you. Chasumu, if he says to sign it, then also the same thing. I kolchem, I kol shrei minchaim. Either all of you have to sign, or it's acceptable also with just
So the
two of you.
Whoever's doing this has to ask that question.
Has to follow up. Yeah. Because otherwise, it's unclear what he really means. Ayvilu, if he says you should all bring it, they have to say I kol chayin, I kol chad v'chad min chayin. All of you or each one of you. Amarava zimnin the guys leile diburei. Rava says 1 second. You're going to make him make big statements. Maybe he's going to cut down on the words and he's going to he won't say the full statement. He'll only say the first part, and he's going to end up with a get that needs to be done by everyone. It says to write it, then he doesn't say all of you or any of you. He says all of you. Right away they tell him that it means any of you. Chasumu, if he says to sign it, you leave out the first part that it also means all of you. And Avilu, bring it, any one of you could bring it. Okay, the next chapter is quite an interesting chapter. It's about insanity. You know, that was the excuse people would always use. They're insane, right? And also, yeah, it existed back then. Someone that's grabbed by a demon that apparently catches a person that drank the wine, and he goes insane. And then he says, write a get to my wife. So we say, he was insane, and he can't take his instructions. Let's say he said, write a get to my wife, and he was sane. But then he drinks the wine and he goes crazy. And then he says, don't write it. He retracts from the instructions. So we don't listen to his last instructions because then he was crazy. Nishtatik, let's say he went mute. And they said to him, Nichtav get li'ishtacha, should we write a get to your wife? So in other words, they're now asking him questions to see what his response is. I don't know why they came up with that. They must have seen they were quarreling without words. And I don't know how to do that. It's graffiti on the wall.
What if he drank and then said, my wife is making
Kirkin Bereisha. So if he nods his head, he says, which basically says like yes, he's approving. Then Boyd can I say Shleisha. They have to check if he knows what he's doing when he's nodding, because they don't know not what nodding means. They have to ask him this way. They have to ask him that way. Im Amar alav lav al hein hein. No, he's mute now. He's not crazy now. This is the mute.
This has nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with drinking.
But we
But-
learned before about too many people that can talk by hands or other motions, and that was okay.
Yeah.
We never questioned it.
Yeah. Now we're saying that you first have to check to see if what he's saying means what he's saying. So you have to ask him, does that mean that you do not want to stay married?
Because we
Yeah,
don't
and this-
understand sign language.
No,
No.
we're not
So we
sure if
never
his sign
questioned
language
it
is.
before.
No, we're just saying when he goes like this, what does he mean by that? Is he
He's
understanding?
Canadian? No.
Exactly. And you think maybe when he goes no, he's saying no. Okay. My Kedaikas, what's Kedaikas? I'm a Shmuel. The Aramaic here is spectacular. The Nachte Chamra Charata de Matzarte, he was stung or bitten. Nachte is like bitten, stung by new wine from the press. Why don't you just say someone that was bitten by new wine? But why do you have to give me this word, Kedaikas? Kamash Milan, it's coming to teach me, the Harucha Kedaikas, it's coming to tell me that this demon that comes, the name is Kedaikas. Very important piece of information. Lamai nafkamina, what's the difference? Lakameya, if you want to make an amulet to get rid of it, or to protect you from it, so you have to use the actual name. So we telling you the name, how to make the amulet. Maya Suse, how do you, what's the remedy? Asusa is a remedy.
If you drink, it's almost like a demon possesses.
Yeah. They probably like dance around on top of the foam or something.
Like a
The
shade.
froth. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
shady.
Says it.
This is.
This is good tomorrow.
leaving shade.
Yeah.
Get two lights and see if
To see if there's two shadows, right? So what do you do to heal the this craziness, right? Bisra sumka gumri, you have to take red meat, which means lean meat, roasted on coals, gumri are coals. The chamra marka is like soup, and diluted wine. Amar Abaya says, Amarli aim. Abaya says, my mother told me. Now Abaya, his mother passed away when he was young. It means his stepmother, his wet nurse. She told him a bunch of things all over Shas. We have Amarli aim. L'shim Shabbos Yaim, if someone has a fever that was lasting for one day, Kuza Demaya, should take a pitcher of water. Okay, a pitcher of water, that's what you do for the fever. Bastre Yaimi, let's say the fever lasted 2 days, Sikure, you do bloodletting. Bastlasa Yaimi, if the fever is there for 3 days, Bisra Sumka Gumri V'chamer Marka. You take lean meat, you eat lean meat that's roasted on coals, and you have diluted wine.
This is saying each time that if you took the first remedy and it didn't work, this is a
That's
stronger
for the
remedy.
next one, yeah. The Shimsha Tikta for an old fever. Lacey Tanagolta Uchmasi. You take a black Tanagolta, black hen. Of the Likari Shesiver, if you rip it in half this way and that way, like both directions. And now you shave the middle of the head of the ill person, which is like the opposite of a mohawk. It's just shaved straight down the middle. You put the hand on top of this guy's head. You leave it there until it rots. Then he should get up. He should go down. And he should get up. He should stay in the water. Ad savari up to his neck. Until he feels faint. He should float around. It's like to swim. He should get up. And sit down. If you're not able to do this, then you just should eat leeks. You should go down and stay in the water ad savari until his neck, until he feels faint. You should float around and you should get up and sit down. L'shimsha. You said before about a fever. What do you take? You say take bisra sumka gumri v'chamer marka. Take lean meat on coals and diluted wine. In the article, am I saying everything correct so far? Latalga, this is the opposite. This is for a cold. What do you do for a cold? So the other one was fever. This is when he feels cold. I guess you feel cold when you have a fever. But this, I guess, means when this temperature drops. That's what it must mean. Bisra shmeina agumrei v'chamracha. Exactly the opposite. Instead of lean meat and diluted wine, over here you take fat meat and undiluted wine, chamrachaya. Rav Amram Chasida have mitzayin le beirish galusa. Rav Amram Chasida, they would bother him. The house of the Reish Galusa, it would bother him. The house of the Reish Galusa, the Reish Galusa was usually an important person, but the henchmen that were around were troublemakers. So have him magnale atalga. They had Rav Amram Chasida sleep on the snow. It says on the side the whole night. The next day, they said, "What would you like to eat? What should we bring you?" Amar, so Rav Amram Chasida said, "Honey, these people called whatever I tell them, they're going to do the opposite." So Amaluhu, he says to them, "Bring me lean meat and diluted wine." So so they brought him fat meat and raw wine, which is exactly what he needed. So,
Can I ask a question?
yeah.
You just
No, I
did.
mean, because I read ahead because you want me to teach Monday, which is like this, but to the 10th degree, like really weird. The remedies that are mentioned in the Gemara, and I also read a
proven.
lot of the
They're proven.
commentaries. One major side said, Paris and this, whatever it says, that's absolutely true. A subcategory of that said, yeah, but we don't really know the exact proportions or the names, therefore we can't do it. The other side said, this is like Rambam, different version, said, this might have been right in those days. It doesn't necessarily mean it's right today.
Right.
So anticipating Monday's class, which is this, as I say, with wild remedies. Right, cut this, take 6 of these, put it here. I mean, it's like, so what do
Why, are
you
you a
want to
doctor or
tell the
something?
class? So no one asks me to answer that question because I have no idea what to answer.
Just don't try any of these at home.
Okay, thanks. Great answer.
So are these things supposed to deal with the demons? Are they relating
Well,
this?
the first thing was supposed to help for the demon. That was the lean meat on coals.
Yeah.
That would help that. Now we're just getting out. You mentioned these remedies. We start to get into remedies.
We have on the books these halachas about dealing with demons. Like, when you go to the bathroom, you say goodbye before you go in, etc.
Right.
But I'm asking you and everybody in the class, is there anything left of this discussion and belief in demons? I mean, I've read letters where poskim and the Rebbe say, go see a therapist. I've never read that they say, go exorcise your demons. Have I missed something?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
If you go to your therapist, the therapist says, so tell me about your inner demons.
Mhm.
Can you hear Dr. Stein?
I heard that. But that's just a turn of phrase.
Yeah, well.
In halakha, they're treated as real.
Right. The Rambam would probably say that phrase is actually all of this is really just that phrase, that there really is no such thing, and it's just imagination and mental health.
Well, that's because he was so rational. But then how would he respond to the fact that there's a halakha?
Yeah, probably would say that people with these issues, we try to help them, even though we don't think that there's anything there.
Well, there's always the placebo effect.
Placebo effect.
And the belief, the Nachash Nechoshes wasn't that the Nachash cured, he was looking up to Hashem.
Right. Okay, Shama Yalta. So Yalta is Reb Nachman's wife. Yalta hears what Rav Amram Chasida is going through. So she brought Rav Amram Chasida to the bathhouse. She puts him in the water in the bathhouse. until the water in the bathhouse turned red. It looked like blood. And there were blotches all over his skin. Yes, that was part of his healing. Rav Yosef Yasik Berichaya. When Rav Yosef, when he was cold, so he would cause himself to sweat and to warm himself up by turning the mill. Rav Sheshach Yasik B'Kshuri. Rav Sheshach would carry heavy beams to warm himself up. Amar Gedola Malacha Shemechamemes Espaleh. Great is work; it warms those that perform work. Amalei Reish Galusa Rav Sheshach. Back to the Reish Galusa. Reish Galusa tells Rav Sheshach, "My time alei soid margaban. How come you never eat by us?" Amalei Dlei Malo Avdi. Your servants are corrupt. The Chashidi Ever Menachai. You can't trust them. They could serve limbs that were torn off a living animal, and not kosher even for a non-Jew. Amalei mi Yemar. He says, "How do you know?" Amalei says, "I'm going to show you." Chavi means to see. Amalei l'shami. So he says to his attendant. This Rav Sheshach tells his attendant, Zil Ganoiv, go and steal. Aisli chad kara michiyusa. Go bring one of the legs of the animal. They were preparing an animal to eat. He says, go steal one of the legs from it. Aisile, so he takes the leg. Amalu, hadmalei hadmi dechiyusa. Rav Sheshach tells when they start serving, he says, show me the whole dissection. Show me the whole animal. Put the whole animal here. Let me see it. So isolate class kari, they only showed him 3 legs because one of them is missing. Yeah, he has it. He's hiding it. Isiva kame. They place it in front of him. Amalahu habala shalish reglayim. This only has 3 legs. So they said, oh, we forgot one, and they go and they cut one from somewhere else. Isiva kame, and they put it there. Amalei l'shames. He says to a servant, Isiva nami lahachti, bring out the one that you have. Isiva, put it down. Amalahu haybas chamish reglayim have. There's 5 legs now. How'd that happen? Amalei. So now the Reish Galusa says, Yihachi le'abdu kamei demar b'leichel. Okay, so now I want you to eat by me. So they'll prepare the food in front of you, and then you'll eat. Amalei l'chai says, okay, I'm fine with that. Kriva taka kamaya. They bring a plate in front. Taka is a table. They bring the table in front of him. Vaisa kamei bisra. They bring meat. Resiva kamei. Ristina dechana kamsa. It's a special piece of meat that has in it a bone that chokes the mother-in-law.
Now you tell me that.
Now, the chanka chamsa means the mother-in-law chokes. There, it chokes the mother-in-law. What does it say?
Choke. Oh, this is a portion that can choke the unseen.
The Rav Sheshach was blind.
What do you have?
I like the first interpretation.
One whose eyes are averted.
Do you have a mother-in-law in there?
Nothing about mother-in-law.
Chamaisa is
blind.
the
He's
chamaisa.
talking about a blind person.
Where'd I get the mother-in-law in here?
Chamaisa.
Freudian.
Isn't chamaisa is mother-in-law?
Oh, it does say here, can also be interpreted as the choke.
Okay, good. Chokes the mother-in-law. Okay, that's much more.
Well, it says, due to an incident in which a woman did away with her mother-in-law by serving it to her.
So it got the title.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that quoted somewhere. So
The mother-in-law.
apparently there was a little bone in this that was not visible, and it was a dangerous piece of meat. So Gashashe, he feels it. V'shakle, he takes it, and Karchi B'Sudri puts it into his napkin. L'vasadachal, after he ate, Amrile, they said to him, Ignav lan casa de caspa. Someone stole a silver goblet. So now they're looking through everyone's pockets to see who stole. This is there's always activity at these meals, the police show up, But there's no party that doesn't end with the police coming in. So Bahadi de Kamaini, while they're looking, they find a piece of meat that was wrapped in his napkin. You see what he put us through? We had to prepare the meal in front of him. He doesn't even eat it. He put it in his napkin. He says, I eat. However, I ate the chivra, but I tasted the meat was diseased. It tastes like boils. We didn't prepare meat that had boils on it. Says, take a look at this. Rav Chisda says, if there's black on white, and white on black, it's a diseased meat. They actually looked at that piece of meat and they found what he said, that it wasn't. Anyway, Rav Sheshes was blind. That's an important point. But anyway, he knew the colors. He knew what color would be. I guess from the taste. Kikanafik, while he was walking out,
Where's Rav Sheshes?
Rav Sheshes would be. Yeah, by Rav Chisda. Around, look a little above Rav
Oh, yeah,
Chisda.
to
We
the
were
right
just
of,
by Rav
to the
Shesh's
right
cave.
of Rav Chisda.
Have you ever been to Rav
Also
Shesh's cave?
became
No.
blind, I wrote. Rav
like
Yosef
right
on
under an
one
army
side.
base.
Rav
Yeah.
Chisda-
You went to Rav Shesh's?
Boy, in the same generation.
Kikanafik, while he was leaving, Karle Bira, they dug a pit. They put a mat on top. That doesn't sound good. And they said, a mat,
Like he should fall
like reeds. Yeah. Not only, it's not that they didn't like him, they
Get rid of it.
there was a Gemara Chulin where he didn't paskin the way they wanted about how long to wait, milk and meat. There was something over there. They killed him, I think, or they wanted to. Yeah, they were tough guys. They wanted it to be. Yeah, they wanted to control. It was like the mafia. They wanted to control how the
in.
laws
These
were.
are other from.
These are
Fairbanks?
the henchmen of the Reish Galusa.
He hired
The
them.
household was not always.
Not the rabbit.
No. So they put a mat on it. Why don't you go lay down? Rav Chisda made a snort sound from behind him. So there was a child there. He says to the child, what pasuk did you learn today? The child said, he said, you should walk to the right or to the left. He tells the servant, my kachazas, what do you see? I see a mat that's strewn out on the floor. He says, well, let's go around it. After they left, he says, how did the master know to walk around it? First of all, you snorted. And also, I asked the child the pasuk. You can't trust these people. They're no good. Okay. Asisili, Sarim, Sharim, Vishares, Vitanugas Bnei Adam, this in Koheles. I made for me singers and male singers, female singers, pleasures of man, Shida Vishidas, which sounds like demons. Sharim Vishares, what does it mean, singers and male singers, female singers? This is types of music. Tanugas Bnei Adam, what are the pleasures of man? Elabrichas Marchatzos, this is pools and baths. Shida Vishidas, Hachatagimo, Shida Vishidsin. Over here it's translated as demons, male demons, female demons. Marav Amri Shidsa, in Eretz Yisrael, they translated that it's a type of carriage that women would go on. In the city of Shechem, there were 300 types of demons. Shidat's many idea, but I don't even know what a demon is. Is that how it translates it? Yeah.
I don't know what.
Okay. Amar Mar. We go back to explain. Hachatagima over here they translate Shida v'Shidsin, male demon, female demons. Shida v'Shidsin liboy alamayi boyle. What does he need to have demons for? Gemara answers. You ready? This is a nice long story. Yeah, you don't get stories like this so often. It says in the pasuk of Abayis, the house when it was built, complete stones quarried, it was built. That means they used complete stones. Amalu Rabbanan, this is talking about Shlomo Melech. It was in Kehelah, so.
This is based on. the
Well, it says
Yeah.
there was neither hammer nor axe nor anything.
Right, it
That's
goes
what's
on. It says
basically-
that there was no sound heard while it was being built.
Oh.
Amalu Rabbanan. Shlomo Melech tells the sages, Hechi Yavid, how do I get full stones that are going to be complete? Amrulay, they said to him, Ikar Shamira, there is this worm that the Isi Moshe Lavni Ephod that Moshe brought for the stones of the Ephod, that it cuts whatever it goes over, the Shamir worm. Amalu Hechi Yishtaka, where can I find it? Amalei, I see Shida Vashits, and you have to bring a demon. Kavshinu Adadi, torment them. Efsha Diadi Megalach, they'll probably know and they'll tell you. I see Shida Vashits, they brought a male demon, female demon. Kavshinu Adadi. Kavshinu sounds like he pushed them together. But Rashi says it means that he torments them. Amalei Anan Layadin, they said, we don't know. Dilma Ashmedai Malka Deshidayadi, you have to bring Ashmedai. He's the king of all the demons. Amalahu, Hechi, Yesnei, where is Ashmedai? Amalei, Isa Betura Palan, he's on such and such a mountain. Karalebira, elaborate on his activities. He built for himself a little pit. Malale Maya, he's filled it with water. Michse Betinra, and he covers it with a rock. Bechasmi Begashmanka, and he actually seals the covering with a seal. B'chol Yom, every day, Salik Lerakia goes up to heaven, V'gamrim B'sifta Rakia, and he goes, he studies in the yeshiva in heaven. V'nachas Lari, he comes down to the ground, V'gamrim B'sifta Dara, and he learns, teaches in the yeshiva down here. V'aisi Sayer Leila Gashpanki, he goes and he checks out the seal. Magli, he opens it up, B'shasi, and he drinks from it. Machse covers it up, B'chasamle, and he seals it back, and he goes. Okay. So Sadri L'Benayah Ben Yayada. Shlomo Melech takes his general Benayah Ben Yayada. Yoav Leishel Shilti gives him a chain. The Chakal Hashem, on the chain it has Hashem's name. The Izkasa the Chakal Hashem, he also gives him a ring that on it has Hashem's name. Gvavi the Imra and tufts of wool, of fleece of wool. Beziki the Chamre and a wine flask. Azal he goes, Kari Birim Mitatoi. He digs a hole underneath the hole of Ashmedai salt. Shafino Lamaya, and he siphons, Shafino, siphons.
Sounds similar, yeah.
Drains out the water. Zasmino Begvavi Damar, and then he stuffs it up with the fleece wool. Bekara Bir Me'alai, and then he digs a hole on top of the Shafino Lachamar, and he pours the wine in. Vitamino, and then he plugs it up. Salak, he goes, Yosef Bilani sits in the tree. Kiyasa, when Ashmedai comes, Sayer Ligashpanki looks at the seal. It's intact. Galia, he opens it up. Ashkechei Chamra, he finds that it's wine there. Amar, he says, Ksiv, the pasuk says, Leitz Hayayin Haimesh Shecher. Jesting is what wine causes. A riot causes hard drinks. B'chol Shogeg, by anyone that wallows in it, Layechkem will never become wise. Uksiv, it's another pasuk, Znus, which is immorality. The Yayin, and wine and tirish, this other wine, Yikach Leiv, takes the heart. I'm not going to drink. This is a conversation to himself. Kitzachi, when he gets thirsty, Leisagile, he can't contain himself. Yishti, and he drinks. Rava quenches his thirst, Begana, and he lays down. So Nachis, Beniyah goes down. Asa Shada Beishal Shati, he throws the chain over him. Sasmi locks it up. Kiyatar, when he wakes up, I've become a farzal, he's struggling. Amalei, Shmada Marachalach. The name of the master is on you. The name of the master is on you. That means Hashem's name. Don't break the chain. Kinaka Levasi, while he's taking him in chains. Mata Dikla, he bangs against a Mata means to reach. They reach a palm tree. Chafbe, he rubs against it. Shadi, knocks it over. Mata Labesa, reaches a house. Shadi, knocks down the house. Mata Gabi Kuva de Malti, comes to a hut of this widow. Nafka, she comes outside, and Echanalei, she pleads with him. So Kafal Lekaim Semine, so in order not to knock it down, it must have been a large person. He bends over so to avoid
big person.
big demon, the Ashmedai.
So he was the big,
Yeah.
big person.
He bends over so as not to knock it down. Itbar Begarma, he
Because the
breaks
lady
it
asked
because the
him.
lady asked. Itbar Begarma, he breaks one of his bones. Amar, he says, that soft speech breaks a bone. He broke a bone because he was trying to not to ruin her house. Chaza Samya Davi Katoy Borchi sees a blind person that's lost on the road. Aski Lorchi, he helps him get to the road. Chazi Ravia Davi Katoy Borchi sees a drunk person that's lost on the road. Aski Lorchi puts him back on the path.
So Yomi Yehuda is taking him,
He's taking him,
and as he's walking, these things are happening.
Yeah.
Ashmedai is helping and doing.
helping and breaking. Chaza Chedvasa Davi Kamad Chalei. There was he saw Chedvasa as rejoicing, but it probably means there was a wedding. Everyone is laughing. Bacha, so he starts crying. Shami lahu gavra, he hears someone, a man, ushkafa, that was telling a shoemaker, Abali masani l'shev shni, make me shoes that will last for 7 years. Achich, he starts to laugh. Chazu kisma davi kasim, he sees a magician that's doing tricks. Achich, he laughs. Kimat l'hasam, when they reach over there to Shlomo HaMelech, they don't bring him into Shlomo for 3 days. The first day, he says, how come the king doesn't call for me? Amalei, Ansei Mishtia, he's drunk. He's Shlomo HaMelech. He's Shaka Levinci, he takes a brick. He puts it on top of another brick. Also, Amalei L'Shema, they go to Shlomo and they tell him, they tell Shlomo what he did. But Amalahu, he says to them, this is what he was saying. You know what to do for a hangover? Drink a little bit more. Yeah.
Morning gift.
Yeah. It says so. That's why one brick, he put another brick on top of it to show like that's how you get rid of the hangover. He says, how come the king doesn't call me? Second day. Amalei insi michla. He ate too much. Shaka Levinci mechaverti, he takes the brick off his friend. He puts it on the ground. Also, they went to Shlomo Amalahu. You know what he was saying? He was saying, Negidu mine michla. That means remove food from him. L'seif tlasiyam, and at the end of 3 days, Ayla Kameh comes. Okay. Shakal Kanya takes a stick, Mashachar Bagamidi, and he measures 4 garmidi or ames, I think, 4 cubits. Right? Shadakameh, and he throws it in front of him. Amalei Michti says, let's see. Kimayasu Gavra, when this person dies, Leslie Badein Almel Dalad Garmidi, he's only going to have 4 cubits. Hashta Kavashti Lekuli Alma.
Which guy's going to die?
This is Ashmedai telling Shlomo HaMelech. He's telling him that this stick measures 4 cubits. He says, you're making such a big deal about yourself and all of this. You're only going to be left with 4 cubits. You already conquered the whole world. You're not satisfied. You need to conquer me also. I don't need you. It says, I need the Beis Hamikdash because and what I need is the Shamir worm. I don't have the Shamir worm. The Sarah the Yama Masale. It's the master over the sea that has the worm. And he only gives it only to the wild rooster. Now, Tanagoyla Bra is the okay, one second. The wild rooster. The Mehemeli Ashvasa that he trusts with his when the wild rooster takes the oath, the master of the sea trusts the wild rooster. My Yavid Bey, what does he do with it? He brings it to mountains that are uninhabited. And he puts it on the peak of the mountain. He makes a little crack in the mountain. And then he takes seeds from trees. He throws it there. And that's how the inhabitant starts. This is the scientists try to figure out how does these islands become inhabited. So they have by these volcanoes, like by Iceland, sometimes they have these eruptions and they create new islands. And then they wait, and the scientists watch that the little cracks in the rock, and seeds go there, and it starts to grow in the cracks more, and it's a little weathering, and anyway, that's how it starts. And then once there's some vegetation, then the animals can come, the birds can stop, and
Sounds like the driveways in Florida.
right.
Little cracks and when the grass is growing in.
Right. So V'shadi Hasan Rabbi Yisha V'haina de Targaminan, and this is the translation of Nagar Tura. The word duchifas in the Torah is Nagar Tura. He breaks mountains. Does he break mountains? Like a woodpecker. Well, this is a mountain pecker. He breaks the mountains. Badku Kina the Tarnagoyla brought the Ispe Bunny. They found the the nest of this wild rooster. Tarnagoyla, the rooster. It's not Tarnagolta. It's Tarnagoyla, the wild rooster. That there were young in there. Chafiu Lakina Zagisa, Chivarta. They put on top of the nest white glass. Yossi, when it came, Boy Lamail wants to go in, but Matzi wasn't able to go in to the nest. Azal Icy Shmir so went in and brought the worm. Put the worm on the glass to crack it, to get inside. Rama Bekala gave a shout, Shadye, and it dropped the worm. Shakle, they took the worm. Azal, the rooster went. This is, I guess, Benio or something. And
Also been to his cave.
it doesn't say Benio, it says his messenger.
But Ben Yehuda is right outside Tzfas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So Azal Chanak Nafshe Shwasa, it went and it killed itself over because of its oath. It gave its oath to the master of the sea. It was never going to give it up, and it went and it committed suicide. This is the rooster. Amalei Benio said to Ashmedai, my time, what's the reason? When you saw that blind person that was lost, you brought him back to the road. Amalei, he said to Benio, they announced in the heaven that this blind person was a perfect tzaddik. Anyone that does him a favor, would merit the world to come. My time, why by the drunk person did you bring him back to the road? The Russia Gomer. They announced in heaven that he's an absolute wicked person. I did him a favor, that he should have it easy in this world, and that he shouldn't have any world to come. My time, why did you cry when you saw the wedding? And the husband's going to die in 30 days. And the wife is going to have to wait 13 years to get married because of the child. He has a brother that's the Yavam. Huh? He was just born. My time, why did you laugh when the person said to make me shoes that last for 7 years? That person won't even live for 7 days. You need shoes that are going to last for 7 years. My time, why did you laugh when you saw the person doing magic? He was sitting on the treasure of the king. To say, how come he can't do magic and find what he's sitting on? This is like if the what they say, the palm readers and all of these things. Like if you're so smart, why can't you get the lottery numbers? You know. So they detained him until they built the Beis Hamikdash. One time he was alone.
Ashmedai.
Yeah. Shlomo was alone with Ashmedai. Amalei, he says to him, like the heights of the Re'aim, which is big animal. What has translated over there? Vamrinan, and we say Ketayafais. What is Ketayafais? That's referring to the heights are referring to the angels. Re'aim Elo Hashedim, and the Re'aim is referring to demons. My Rabbi Minan, what do you demons have better than us? Why is the pasuk referring to praising Hashem? How great is even greater than he has the heights of the demon. I take the chains off and take the chain off me, give me your ring, and I'll show you how great I am. Here goes the mistake. takes the chains off. You have
Never-
this because
never
he gives him
trust the demon.
the ring. Bala, he swallows the ring. He puts one of his wings in the gapa, means a wing, right? The wing in the heavens. B'chad gapa bari, puts one of his wings on the ground. Paske arba mea parse, and he jumps and he pushes him. He pushes him 400 parseis. He shaita amar Shlomo. At that time, Shlomo says, "My yisran adam b'chol amalei she'amal tachas hashemesh." What's Ashmedai pushes Shlomo away 400 parseis? He says, "What benefit is there for all of man's toil under the sun? And this is my portion from all my toil. My v'zeh, what does it mean? This Rav Shmuel, it's Machlekes Rav and Shmuel. Chadamar Machlek. One says that all he's left with is with his staff. The Chadamar Gundai, and one says all he's left with is either his cloak or his cup. There's two interpretations. It was going from door to door because Shlomo Melech was out of the palace without any.
Is this one Ashmedai make believe?
Yeah,
he
he's
was
an imposter.
Shlomo?
Kalecha Demata, wherever he goes, Amar, he says, Ani Kaiheles, I am Kaiheles, Yisrael Melech al Yisrael B'Yisraelim, I was the king over Yerushalayim. Yimata Gabi Sanhedrin, when he reaches the Sanhedrin, Amar Rabbanan, the rabbi said, Mechti, 1 second. Usually a fool doesn't stick to one story. And this guy has the same story. My hi, what's going on over here? Amal Lebinayo, they called to Binayo, Kaboy Lach Malka Legabe, has the king called you? Amalulai, the king hasn't called me. They sent for the queen. Malchvasa, does it mean queens or queen? Queens. Kasi Malka Legabaichu. Has the king been with you lately? Shalchalayin, they said yes. Kasi, he comes. Shalchalahu.
Wait, because who?
In Kasi, he comes, even though he's with us.
Okay.
Shalchalahu, they sent to them, Didku Bakari, look at his feet. Shalchalahu, the Muki Kasi. He comes with his socks. And he asks us to live with them, to live with us when we're in Nidas. They ask them, the wives, even if they're in Nida. He even wants to live with Basheva, his mother. Asyul l'shleima. They bring in Shleima, which was wandering around. Havale Yiskasa, to give him a ring. Shashalta d'chakal Hashem, to give him a chain that has the name on it. Kiayel, when he enters, Chazi sees him parach, Hashmedai runs away. And nevertheless, Havale besusaminai, he was still afraid of Ashmedai. And that's why it says, around the bed of Shlomo were 60 strong people from the strong people of Israel. All of them are holding swords, trained in battle. Each man has a sword on this time because of the night. Yeah, because of the fear at night. Shlomo Melech was afraid of Ashmedai. Rav Shmuel, right? This Machlekes Rav Shmuel.
Isn't that also an allusion to something else? The number.
This is protection.
Shishim is, I think, the number of.
Oh, really? Chadamar, one says Melech v'Hedyet. One says that he never really ruled again. The Chadamar Melech v'Hedyet to Melech. That Shlomo Melech was a king, became a Hedyet means became a regular person because he was out of the palace. But then he came back to a king. The king, okay. This time you'll take over from the Dhamma Duresha. Beginning of the. It's like 5 lines from the bottom. Is that all right?
It doesn't make a difference because the next page is just one.
Okay.
I mean, from you, it'll be good.
Okay,
No,
Dr. Stein is
it's-
going to teach tomorrow. Okay, have a good day, everyone.
Historical medicine.